excited to be launching a new exhibition with our dear friend and Canadian music icon, none other than, seated to my right, Randy Bachman. This exhibition has been many years in the works. Like, this didn't get created overnight. We started talking about working on a guitar exhibition as far back as about roughly 2016, 2017. We started to discuss this idea, then a pandemic got in the way, and then things got obviously shelved for a period of time. So I'm really glad that we're through that and we're able to open Randy Bachman, Every Guitar Tells a Story, which opens tomorrow, May 5th, here at Studio Bell, home of the National Music Center, and will run till October the 1st. And it remains to be seen what happens after October the 1st, but at least for today, you know, it runs from May 5th to October the 1st. So today you're getting an official sneak peek, which is really, really exciting. This exhibition highlights Randy's sprawling guitar collection. And this is only, exactly, if you heard, Randy just laughed, because this is only a sample, a part of the iceberg of this incredible guitar collection, which you can see just behind us is a considerable piece of work. In this exhibition, there are over 80 guitars that have been curated from Randy's very vast collection. He can tell you a bit more about it, and we'll talk more about it tonight at the live podcast. And so visitors will get an up-close look at the instruments from every part of his career, and as well as learn more about the rationale and the inspiration behind collecting. There's a number of different things as well that are really excited about, you know, Randy's history as a collector and as an artist and as a creator. For those of you that like to go onto YouTube every once in a while and learn guitar riffs, what we have offered in this exhibition are tutorials for three of Randy's great creations, iconic songs, not taught by someone on YouTube, but taught by the creator himself, and I'm really excited about those. If any of you
YouTube are wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Spoken like a true musician. They play it wrong on YouTube. So I was viewing some of them last night, and just the, you know, the chord formations, the sound, the inspiration of where the song comes from. So I'm really excited about those kiosks, and you'll get a chance to check those out a little bit later. Randy Bachman obviously is a significant part of Canada's music story, and through this exhibition you'll learn more about the fantastic guitars and of course the life of this great musician, songwriter, collector, and mentor to many, many musicians. In fact, we were just chatting before we started today that Randy went to see Lindsay L. last night, who one of many musicians that Randy has mentored in his life, and there are many others. Randy was a member, as many of you know, of Winnipeg's own Guess Who, founder, and also a founder of Bachman Turner Overdrive. And here at the National Music Center, this is the home of 4 Canadian Music Halls of Fame. Randy's in 2 of those Halls of Fame, Canadian Music Hall of Fame and the Canadian Songwriters Hall of Fame, which are both here, and you're more than welcome to visit those while you're here today. National Music Center opened in 2016. And one of the things that is interesting about this story is it has a real connection and inspiration to Randy himself, something we'll talk a little bit more about tonight. But Randy, with this vast collection of musical instruments that he's had, parted ways with a significant amount of Gretsch guitars back in about 2008, 2007, 2008. And here, as the NMC was starting to get on its rolling in terms of an idea to be constructed in about 2016, we felt that we needed a home here for music in Canada so that these instruments and these stories could be saved, could end up in this facility, and that exhibitions and programs could be built from them. So I'm really excited that, you know, Randy's legacy as an artist and as a collector is here today for the public to share and to enjoy. So many different stories are contained in this exhibition, stories about the creation of songs like These Eyes, Taking Care of Business, No Time, and many others, which you can get into as you explore the exhibition. Another exciting thing about the National Music Center, which you'll also see here in one of the collectibles in the exhibition, is the 1959 Gibson Les Paul that American Woman was written on. There's a great story behind that. It used to be at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, and when this building was built, Randy graciously took it from that American Music Hall of Fame and brought it to Canada because there was finally a place in Canada where that guitar could live. So I wanted to again thank you for that. Canada, as I said, never had such a home until we built the National Music Centre. And that guitar has lived here for many years now. And another connection to Randy that we've had here at National Music Centre, not far from where we're standing actually, in about 2015, this room looked very, very different. It was steel studs, unfinished drywall, and a concrete floor. Randy, that was right here. So Randy had just put out an album called Power Blues, right? Power
Heavy Blues.
Heavy Blues. So Power
That's
Trio.
a good follow-up.
You got it. And Heavy Blues. So that you were touring that record, and Randy and his trio played the first sound in the unfinished National Music Centre, right around here, actually. And there was, wind blowing through this building. It wasn't completely sealed up yet. So we have a long history with Randy and his work. So I just wanted to, on behalf of all of us here at National Music Centre, thank you for many years of inspiration and support to helping us realize and build and open the National Music Centre. So on behalf of our team here at National Music Centre, I'm just one person, work with an amazing team of incredibly dedicated and creative people. I wanted to give a shout out to our incredible team today that brought this exhibition to life. We can produce exhibitions here at National Music Centre that are of world-class quality. You can see that here today to celebrate these incredible music icons. So Jesse Moffat, our Senior Director of Exhibitions, the whole collections team, the event team, the marketing team, the programming team. Thank you so much, all of our volunteers, for helping bring this exhibition and all the exhibitions that we create here at National Music Centre. And I also wanted to give a big shout out to all of our supporters. This is a charitable organization, National Music Centre, so thank you very much for supporting the work that we do here at the NMC. Now, without further ado, I usually have to introduce someone to the microphone to sort of speak on behalf of the program, but Randy's sitting right beside me to the right. So would you give it up for our special guest today, the reason this entire exhibition has come together, the great, incomparable Randy Bachman.
Asking questions? Is there Q&A? Are you asking, anybody asking questions?
No, can you briefly describe what the exhibition means to you?
Describe what the exhibition means to me. It means I could see my collection because I had nowhere big enough to put this. I started collecting by accident. I think when you start, I've had a lot of women say to me, how many guitars do you have? And I say, how many pair of shoes are in your closet? Because you never really know. There's always some in transit. When you start out, you need a Fender guitar. When you're starting out in rock and roll, I'm talking in the late 50s. To sound like Buddy Holly, later on Jimi Hendrix or Clapton, you need a Fender Stratocaster guitar. Then to sound like somebody else, you need a Fender Telecaster guitar. Then to sound like Chuck Berry, you need a Gibson guitar, hollow body Gibson. Then to sound like Eric Clapton later on, you need a solid body Gibson. To sound like Dwayne Eddy, you need a Gretsch. So when you're starting guitar, and there's no such thing as a foot pedal. You had a guitar that had its own sound, and you had one amplifier. So you went to record, you would pick different guitars and get different sounds for your rhythm tracks and your solo tracks. And that was your toolbox, your hammer, your saw, your chisel. You had a Gretsch, a couple of Fenders, a couple of Gibsons, maybe a Rickenbacker 12-string. And I had these guitars in the different bands. I learned to play on them. I wrote my songs on them. And then in 1976, my first really great guitar, my orange Gretsch, was stolen from my hotel room in Toronto. I searched for it for 45 years and gave up. And in the last 2 years, my son and I were shut down because of the pandemics. We started doing YouTubes from my house just for fun, just for something to do, because there's no fun playing for yourself. It's called noodling around. But when a camera's on, you gotta do a performance. So we would do that. In the middle of one of our YouTubes, a little thing came up. When you're doing live YouTube, down the side of the screen is a black thing, and people will say, terrible pants, bad hair day, not a good song, whatever. And one said, I think I found your Gretsch guitar. And so my son Tal called this guy, and he'd been stuck in his basement, and he didn't even know what a Gretsch was. He knew that I had a Gretsch stolen. His name was William Long. He lived in White Rock, and he Googled the word Gretsch. He thought it was a wristwatch. He found that it was a guitar, Then he Googled Randy Bachman's Gretsch, and there's a YouTube of looking up for #1, me with BTO, playing that orange guitar on YouTube. And so he took my picture and he froze it. Then he did facial recognition with every orange Gretsch guitar sold in the last 10 years on the internet. And took him 2.5 weeks, and he sent me a picture of this guy in Japan who doesn't speak English. He sings in phonetically. His name was Takeshi, but they call him Takashi in Japan. And he had my guitar. And it was a Christmas show, and he's singing Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree to be like Brian Setzer, because he got a Gretsch, and he's a rockabilly guy, but he's singing phonetically, he doesn't know what he's singing. But he's got my Gretsch. Luckily, my son Tal married a Japanese lady, who's a beautiful lady. She's now our drummer. Her name's Coco. And so she contacted this guy in Japanese, set up a YouTube, and he brought it out on the camera. And I saw it was mine, and so we arranged a trade that was done at the Canadian consulate on Canada Day, two Canada Days ago, not last year, but the year before. And it was amazing to see my guitar after that length of time. But to get mine from Takashi, I had to find his sister. So can you imagine trying to find a 1957 Gretsch with no mods, no repairs, nothing. Made in the same week, like from the same, he wanted one from the same litter of puppies, you know what I mean? I found one in Loveland, Ohio. Serial number was two digits off of mine. So when I showed it to Takashi on the YouTube, he said, yes, come to Japan and trade it. But when that guitar was stolen, and I had 45 years of not having it, this was before the internet, I had called many guitar dealers, or faxed them, saying, I'm looking for this orange Gretsch guitar. This means everything to me. It was my first big guitar, my first professional guitar. And it's on These Eyes, it's on Taking Care of Business, it's on American Home. It played on all these records. And people would bring a Gretsch to my gig. And I'd look at it, that's not mine. Well, we only want $50 for it, so I would buy it. And I wouldn't realize it, because when you're on tour for 90 days and somebody brings you 80 guitars, you just buy them and send them home. And I would get home, there'd be all these guitars and my cases in my house would be full. What is this? And I'd open them and be like Christmas, I'd be opening going, oh wow. And then you don't get to play them while you have so many. And then I had Fred Gretsch call me, and he said, I've got the name Gretsch Guitars back. I can now make Gretsch guitars again. It had been lost to corporate buyouts and shrinking and wrong people making the guitars and everything. He's like, I can now make Gretsch guitars, but my factory burned down, and all the templates were burned and destroyed. Your collection is the biggest one in the world, which I didn't know at the time. Could I borrow your guitars 5 or 6 at a time and copy them for the new Gretsch line, because I have nothing to make? And I said, okay, so of my collection, some of them are here. I would load them 4 or 5 at a time. They would calibrate them and caliper them, or they measure them, and do the new. So every new Gretsch that you see from 1990, that's anywhere in the world, in any store, is a copy of the one I had in my collection, because they had all been bought and destroyed or whatever. I had them all together. Then he came and said, I would like to buy your collection. So I sold him 350 Gretsch guitars, and I had a hole in my soul, a hole in my life. And for Christmas one year, I got a German archtop guitar. I went, wow, this is incredible. I've never seen anything like this. But I found out they're all handmade by one guy, and maybe his grandson or his dad. They were made after the war. All these guys trained at the Stradivarius factory in Cremona, Italy. They were all made cellos and violins, and they're now making these guitars, because all the symphony houses were destroyed during the war. So in the 50s, they're rebuilding it, and these guys are making stuff. So guys like Django Reinhardt, who were the guitar players, the gypsy guitar players, all existed in the nightclub. So all these guitars were made, they're called like gypsy guitars or clown guitars. And I started to collect them, because every single one is a different work of art. Everyone's different, because there was no continuity there. A lot of them are made in communist countries. You couldn't put your name on. A lot of them don't have a name on. But if you look inside the guitar with a flashlight and a dentist thing, you know, the little mirror on the end, you could see the guy's name in pencil inside the guitar, on the top of the guitar. He penciled it in. But if he put his name on the top, he'd be arrested and thrown in jail because of a communistic state. So when I heard the story, I thought, these guitars are incredible. And I have pictures of these fathers and son carving these in their attic, hiding out, and then selling the guitar in the black market, getting money to feed their family. And I heard of stories of like a family buying a banana and cutting it up in 6 pieces, and they could never tasted a banana. They're like 15 years old, but they get the money from, or they buy real food, you know what I mean? Food, like an apple. I mean, stuff that we take for granted. And so it was very intriguing. So there's quite a few good histories behind most of the guitars. And I started to collect them. I had a daughter who studied a bit of German in high school. And so she went on German eBay for me and go, Dad, I found this, I found that, I found this, I found that. And I go, wow, incredible. And one thing I've got to tell you guys, if you collect things like cars or whatever, I never spent my own family money, so my wife could never complain. I spent my extra money. So I produced a band called Trooper. All of that Trooper money that I made bought my guitars. When I went on the road, they'd get a per diem, $5 a day, $10 a day, maybe $20 a day. I'd save my per diem, I'd eat with the crew. I'd eat whatever they threw it for the crew from the chuck wagon and save my per diem. So when I saw a guitar in a pawn shop, I would buy it. So when I sold my Gretsch collection to Fred Gretsch and quadrupled my money, boom, wow, what a great investment. I had these things on my wall, I played them, and nobody wanted Gretsch guitars because they were they weren't the big Fender, they weren't the big Gretsch. They were a hillbilly guitar. A lot of them were made in Arkansas by hillbillies. And not until the Traveling Wilburys came out, which as you know is Bob Dylan and Jeff Lynne and George Harrison, all these cool guys, and they were getting their article because the Traveling Wilburys were everywhere, Roy Orbison and everybody. They went to Norman's Rare Guitars and each picked a Gretsch because they're doing a video for MTV and they're going to be on the cover of Time and Newsweek and Rolling Stone. They all pick a Gretsch guitar that's orange sparkle and orange and black and green, and suddenly everybody wants Gretsch guitars. So that was why the Gretsch guitars went. Every guitar I paid $250 for became $2,500. You added a zero to the end. So that was my selling the collection to Fred Gretsch. It's now in Savannah, Georgia, in the Gretsch Museum. Then that started me collecting these German guitars, and here they are, all here.
So Randy, how does it make you feel to see all these guitars on display right now?
Say that again?
How does it make you feel to see all these guitars on display?
Well, it's quite amazing. I haven't seen these guitars in a long time. They've been hiding out from divorce lawyers. Don't put that in print.
That's for the interview later tonight.
No, they've been stored here by Andrew, and I haven't seen them in a long, long time. And I was very lucky in my lifetime to have a passion of being in love with England. And when I sold my Gretsch collection, I bought a flat in London, England, in Covent Garden, which is where everybody goes when you're in England. Covent Garden is where all the theaters are. The garden is there, which every different day they set up antiques or clothing, or they're selling different stuff there right in the Covent Garden market. And I loved it there. I had a place there about 10 or 12 years. And it was like the top floor, looking at the London Eye across the river. And it was quite an amazing thing. But I had a set of things there, clothes, a toaster, a couple of guitars. Then I had a house in Santa Monica. I had one in Salt Spring. So you end up with 3 houses, and you end up with 3 toasters and 3 lawnmowers, 3 or 4 of everything. And then you shrink down because of a divorce or other things, or you decide to live in one place. You have nowhere to put all these guitars, so Andrew stored them all here. And instead of charging me a fee for them, he was a really nice guy. He's showing them off.
We'll talk about that later.
So to see them all is very amazing. I mean, every one of these is like a Picasso or Rembrandt. Each one is made one. There's no two alike in the world. This one here, this one right in the middle, I thought I was done collecting German art shelf guitars. I had 120 of them. I had met a girl from Calgary named Lindsay L. when she was about 15. I was helping her write an album. I produced her first album in Salt Spring. And when she was all done, she went to Nashville. She was on tour with a band called Perry and Brad Paisley opening for them in Germany. And she called me on Christmas Eve. One day I'm riding my bike, I'm in Oakville, I'm pedaling my bike and trying to get exercise. My phone rings, hi Randy, it's Lindsay. Yeah, are you still collecting German guitars? No, I'm only looking for a Bianca. Well, I'm playing a Bianca. What? Where are you? I'm in Berlin. I just did my sound check with a band called Perry, and I just took a little walk before the gig. I'm playing this guitar. She sent me pictures of her playing this guitar. I go, wow, that's amazing. They're just taking pictures to put it on YouTube to sell it, but it's Christmas Eve, everybody's shutting down. I said, how much do they want for it? She said, this much. I said, are you kidding? That's a joke. Here's my credit card number, buy the guitar. She bought it right then and there on Christmas Eve. It wouldn't fit in the container where they're shipping their gear back. Lucky enough, they gave her a seat on the airplane, so she put it on the airplane. She got to Nashville. Somebody from my agency in Toronto was going to Nashville two Christmases ago to see the Black Keys for New Year's Eve. Brought it home in the car. So this guitar here is one of a kind, actually 3 of a kind. The one with the white pickups here. The one with the scallop top. There's two others in the world. One's in the Guggenheim and one's in the other museum, the Getty Museum. And 10 years ago, they were valued at $85,000 each. So this guitar itself is like maybe $150,000 now. If you get it and look at it, they're all handmade. One thing about all these German guitars, they all had Shaler tuners and pickups. Shaler was the one thing that existed through the war. They made all the hardware. The other stuff, the guys would go and get their own mother of pearl, their own ivory, their own diamonds or rubies, whatever they were using. A lot of this stuff is drum shell. They get drums to take the shells off the drums and the trims on the guitars. If you look at the back of these guitars, they're as beautiful as the fronts, and even the sides. These guys decorated everything. A lot of these guitars were called clown guitars, because in the 50s in Europe, the big thing was there was no TV yet. Take your family to the circus. And so when you went to the circus, you were met at the front door by an MC or a greeter, who later then put a red nose on and big shoes, became the clown, and went in and said, in the first ring is the dog act, and the pony act, and then there's acrobats, and he played a guitar. And so he wanted a guitar that would be like his clown outfit. So hence the guitar is like red and white and flashy, because he's walking around getting the attention of the people. And I thought it was like a derogatory name, but it really is a complimentary. These guys they actually bought these guitars and kept these guitar makers in buying oatmeal for their family, because these couldn't eat unless they made a guitar and sold it. So here they all are.
One last question, then take some questions from the media. How do you feel? What would you like visitors to come away with after seeing this exhibition?
Well, I meet a lot of people. It's really great to have a hobby and collect something. As a little kid, you collect stamps and then coins or whatever. Really rich guys. I met one last week, collect Ferraris.
Yeah.
Right. It's really cool to collect something, but sometimes you collect them and put them in a box and you never see them again. Or your friend comes over and you trade stamps or comics or whatever. When you actually have guitars and you get to play them, and each one has a character. Almost every one of these guitars I pick up and it speaks to me, and I write a song, and then that justifies that I spent $200 or $800 buying it, because I make $2,000 or $8,000 from the guitar. We become a partner. People said, what's so special about a guitar? And I said, have you ever tried to put your arms around a piano or a set of drums? No, you can't. The guitar, you hold it next to you, it feels your heartbeat, it feels your breathing, you put your arms around it, it becomes part of you. And when I noticed this for a fact, and a lot of other guitar players do, you pick up a guitar, it's a piece of wood. And as you hold it and play it, maybe for an hour, it kind of absorbs a vibe from you, you get a vibe from it, it becomes alive, you have to retune it, and suddenly it becomes very playable. Rather than being a cold piece of wood, it becomes a part of you. And you just make really great music together. I travel so much, I have all my life. I can't tell you how many airports I'm in where I see a 10-year-old kid or an 80-year-old man or woman with a little guitar and a backpack carrying, and they're backpacking around the world, and they're not holding a grand piano. It's a harmonica or a guitar.
Fantastic. So I think there's time to take some questions from the media.